Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Developers Zen podcast, where we talk about everything that's happening in the games industry, but from the eyes of two indie developers. My name is Sivash, aka Rainy, and my co-host is Sydney, aka Fam. So happy to have you for this episode. Thank you for listening to us and making us part of your daily routine. If I steal that from Good Mythical Morning. I always love it when they say that. I don't know if they still say that. I used to watch them back in like 2016.
Would we be a daily routine or a weekly routine though?
I'd say weekly.
Weekly
Probably.
routine. I gotta give Good Mythical Morning props though.
Weekly.
Like they nailed it. Like they nailed the model.
Yeah.
They're very good at what they do.
Yeah, I love them. They did some very good
Shout
stuff.
out to Rhett and Link.
Shout out to Rhett and Link. I love those two. But yeah, today in this episode, we're going to be talking about everything that's happening in the games industry. So looking at the past...
Everything.
Just
all of it.
Absolutely everything.
All at once.
So looking at the past 2-3 weeks of what's been happening, we were talking about, well, one of our favorite games, not just as gamers, because the game's
our new obsession.
Fun. Our new obsession, but just because it's such an impressive game from just a game dev perspective, and it's Helldivers.
Yeah.
And then it just
let me be clear, not from a development perspective so much. It's not like they've done anything new or extraordinary in terms of new mechanics or like but it's the design of the game.
They have executed it as best as I have ever seen.
Yeah.
In this sort of, And then
let's be real, it's a buggy mess. It really is.
Wow,
but that's
funny.
Pun actually not intended. But people don't care because it's a great game. But we'll get into that.
Yeah, so then the conversation kind of went into Dragon's Dogma, and I don't think we're going to talk much about the performance aspect of it. That has been a big subject of like a sore subject for a lot of people, which is fair. From what I've heard, it's not very well optimized. But again, I'm not too knowledgeable on the subject to want to give my own opinion, but we can talk about Capcom's history of microtransactions with these single player games, and we wanted to kind of talk about why is it okay that Helldivers does it and people are like not mad at it and it's all fine, and then the way Dragon's Dogma has done it made some people angry. And not just Dragon's Dogma, we can talk about Assassin's Creed Valhalla that had a pretty rocky
we want to go back to kind of the beginning of microtransactions and where they started and how they've developed and where they are now. And I think microtransactions in video games are actually a perfect example of the slippery slope argument of, you know, give an inch, they'll take a mile type thing. And, you know, so let's talk about how they started. So I feel, really, what is it? Just in case anybody who is watching doesn't know what a microtransaction is. So Rainy, what's a microtransaction in a video game?
Yes, so microtransaction is... The reason it's called microtransaction is because you are purchasing something as part of a game that usually is priced at a smaller amount than the game itself, that will give you something inside of the game itself. So it's a transaction that is small and it happens within the framework of a game inside the game itself. That can be for a cosmetic item, it can be for boosters, it can be for plenty of things.
They come in a ton of different flavors, right? So you have the cosmetic ones, you have the ones that might give you, you know, a little bit of a boost in your gameplay. You have others that might make gameplay a little bit easier. You have microtransactions for buying in-game currency that you then use to buy other stuff. You also have mobile gaming microtransactions, which are a whole other ball game that we're not even going to get into because we're not mobile game developers. But it is part of the conversation. And so let's talk about what the first microtransaction was. Now, did you play Oblivion?
I have played Oblivion. Yeah, I played it on the Xbox 360.
Haven't. Okay, so the first microtransaction, for anybody who doesn't know, was a skin, right? For like an armor. It was horse armor.
It was an elven horse armor.
Which was, and it was like $2.50. It was cheap. It wasn't, it wasn't like a $30 tank or something. It was like a little thing. And it, from what I've read and been told, players thought it was ridiculous. Like the dumbest, like who the hell would pay $2 real just to make their horse in game look different?
The funny thing is, and I remember reading this somewhere, so I could be wrong and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not sure if Todd Howard said this or somebody else that worked on Oblivion. But I remember them mentioning that horse armor sold more than the game did.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of the same consensus by a lot of the OG Bethesda developers that worked on World of Warcraft. When they, if you watch Pirate Software on YouTube, or if you follow him, he had a shorts that I saw about how when they first added some microtransactions for cosmetic items, they started selling a lot more than the game itself did. So, although gamers might crap on it, it still sells.
Yeah, I love him, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Pirate Software. He's great. Shout out to him because he's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it's funny because gamers like to complain about microtransactions, but we also buy them. So it's like, if people didn't buy them, then the studios wouldn't make them.
Yeah.
If they had put out that horse armor and nobody bought it, then that was. But if people bought it, and so they was like, oh, well, this is actually a thing we can actually make more money on. Now, I'm not saying I'm in favor of microtransactions, because honestly, I'm not. However, devil's advocate, there is a benefit to them. And the benefit is that, once you release a game, it's out there. People buy it, and unless they keep buying it and keep putting money into it, it's not like selling a product like, food. It's not like selling chips where you eat the chips. It's not a consumable, a video game, You're not going to buy it over and over again. It's like an appliance, you buy it once, but even with an appliance, when it breaks, you have to buy it again. Once you sell a video game, that's it. It's like a movie. And so we're looking at, how do movies continue to make money?
It's a movie, but instead of 2 hours long, it can be hundreds.
Yeah, but once a movie, it goes out into theaters, people spend money on the movie tickets, but then it can go to video, and that's more money it can make. It can go on to television shows, that's more money it can make. Same thing with television shows, they can get syndicated across. So there's longer lives even in those forms of media. In music, it's the same way. People, you buy a CD once and you never really buy it again. So I guess it's kind of similar
look at Spotify,
to video games.
Every time you listen,
which is a great model because the people who made it are continuing to make money. So the benefit of microtransactions is that it allows game developers another avenue of continued money making. So I'm not totally against it.
Yeah, and I'm sure
there is how it's implemented.
That's exactly it. So as we are going to go into detail about it, that there is a way you can implement microtransactions that supports your game, and players will be happy about it too. Again, we're going to go through details on these examples more, but there's a reason that the Helldivers method works well. People are happy about it. I was happy about it. I got a microtransaction on Helldivers because I wanted a boost because I couldn't spend the time to get them in currency myself. And then why it can also be implemented very incredibly badly.
So let's talk about the badly, right?
Okay.
So let's talk about the most egregious, to the point where countries are actually starting to go after these forms of microtransactions. Star Wars
Battlefront 2.
Actually, no. I'm going to talk about the one that people like to ignore, which is FIFA.
Oh God, yes.
It's a method of microtransactions that are accepted, that people still spend tons and tons and tons and tons of money on. Everybody knows it's vile and evil, and yet it keeps happening. And this is the dark side of microtransactions, which is the type that kind of not portray, but encourage you to gamble, really. And we can even look at Steam with the gun skins and all of the for Counter-Strike, and the websites that have popped up that just allow you to gamble skins. And so like there is a whole very dark side to the microtransactions. And so I think people have a reason to be upset. You know, you look at FIFA and you have, like, I saw a TikTok the other day of this girl who deleted her boyfriend's, it wasn't FIFA, it was like the basketball. No, it was basketball.
Oh, was it?
It was like an NBA game.
Right.
Yeah, it was NBA 2K. She deleted his entire team and like all of his accounts and stuff. And he was like a streamer. Like this was his livelihood. This is how he made money.
Yeah.
And she just sat there. She did it on stream and deleted all of his stuff. And like when he was away from the computer. And it's just like, well, that's a whole other story. But like that's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, God, he spent thousands of dollars on something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. See, we could do a whole episode on sports games.
We could, yeah.
But I've seen a lot of consensus on this, and I agree with them. Is that the type of players that play these kinds of games and spend the money on them, it's just acceptable to them to spend this money. And because if it wasn't, then there will be a group of people, which there is, they're just undermined and voted out by all the other people who spend money with their wallets and voting with their wallets about these stuff like Ultimate Team in FIFA. There are people who are very angry about the fact that we are getting the same regurgitated game every year for no reason at all. Like all of the team changes can be updates. We have, look at Stardew Valley, right? Game came out more than 7 years ago. It just got a 1.6. Yeah, it just got a 1.6 update, which added a bunch of new stuff. So somebody who bought the game back in somebody who bought the game back in 2016 can open the game and play the latest version with all the new stuff. Now, FIFA doesn't do the same thing. It's a new game every year, and it doesn't need to be. And it has, like, apparently, I could be wrong, but apparently your Ultimate Team stuff doesn't carry over, so you need to buy the same stuff again.
Oh, that's infuriating.
For the new game.
And the thing is all of the games that used to be honestly respectable and awesome kind of went down that same route. You know, you look at Call of Duty did it, where, you know, suddenly there was a new Call of Duty game every year, maybe even 2 a year.
I haven't played a Call of Duty game for like the past 4 years just because of this.
I haven't played Call of Duty since I think Black Ops 3 came out. And Black Ops 3 was not... No, it was Ghost. Ghost was... It was Ghost and then Black Ops 3, and both of them just weren't... Yeah, they both sucked. And it wasn't
Last time
because
I had
of
fun with the Call of
microtransactions.
Duty was Black Ops 2. That was great.
Same.
I really enjoyed it.
I think that was probably the last good Black Ops game, or the last good. You know, I think there were some good Modern Warfares. I never got into those. I was always a Black Ops player.
Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3, but nothing besides those.
Black Ops 1 and 2 were, I mean, S tier, like just perfect games. One was so perfect, but what made one so good, you know, could they have dropped microtransactions into one and had it still be a good game? Yes. And that's kind of what we'll get into, is like, how can you do it where it still works? But we look at some other games that, you know, they kind of started adding not even just microtransactions, but just coming out with too many games too quickly. So you look at like the Assassin's Creed games.
Assassin's Creed is a very good example.
And there's one a year almost, it feels like. And then they started adding microtransactions to them. And then it got to the point where it wasn't about the microtransactions, it was about the game getting worse and having microtransactions, that it was like, what is happening here? The
first time I saw that in an Assassin's Creed game, I grew up with Assassin's Creed game. I absolutely loved and adored them. And I think an Assassin's Creed game that got a lot of flack, I think it's an incredible game. I think there were some bad decisions were done about it, but the game has the most complicated parkour mechanic out of all the entries, and it's Unity. I thoroughly enjoyed Unity. But Unity was the first time that I saw the microtransactions. I don't think it was the first time. I think Black Flag was the first time. But it was the first time I saw the Helix currency thing.
Yeah.
So
but
I was going to...
Black Flag is like the most beloved entry.
Yeah.
In Assassin's Creed.
It's amazing, yeah. We could also do a whole episode why Black Flag is still.
We could probably do an entire
Skull
podcast
and
on
Bones.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. Oh god. But
we should just have our favorite games podcast.
But that was the first time I saw the Helix money thing that they have in Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
And it was weird to me that, you know, I could get it myself in the game, but some of them I had to buy for the skins, and it was just skins back then. And they started very kind of light. You could get some of the currency yourself by doing certain objectives in the game, and then it would give you the currency. But then it got worse and worse, as you said.
Yeah.
And as the games also kind of fell off the quality, and, you know, Assassin's Creed games always suffered, especially past the Ezio stuff.
Yeah.
It suffered from overabundance of content that was boring. Unity was a very good example.
They're bloated games.
It was bloated as fuck. So
yeah.
We
could even call into this similar, not really with the microtransactions, but just, you know, overly bloated games, which I think we should do a whole episode on. But Andromeda suffered from the same thing.
Yeah, very good point.
It was overly bloated. It had nothing to do with the original Mass Effect stories, and it just wasn't a good game. And I guarantee you, had they put microtransactions in that, the fallout would have been 10 times worse. You know. So okay, so those are the games that
I've been trying to. I had successfully removed Andromeda from my memory, so thank you for reminding me that is a thing.
I know, right? So those are the games that you pay for, you know, $40, $50, $60, now $70 for a video game, and they have microtransactions tacked into them, usually for cosmetics and extra things. Now, if we look at the other side, which are the free-to-play games.
Yeah.
Now, do we know who started the free-to-play model? Because I know a lot of people want to say it was Fortnite, but I'm 90% certain it was Apex Legends.
It was absolutely not Fortnite. I'm sure there were games before
it was
that.
Apex. I feel like it was Apex.
First free to play.
We're not talking mobile here. Mobile doesn't count.
Something.
Not non-mobile.
Well, it goes back to 1990. But if you want to talk about the games that have the same architecture as
like
the new
live
service method and stuff, I'd say Apex was one of the first ones.
I feel like it was Apex.
Probably Fortnite was before that, honestly, actually.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure
the thing is,
Apex came out first.
Fortnite was supposed to be a survival crafting game called Save the World.
I will talk about that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because I have inside information about that.
To it.
Okay. It was actually, where'd you get Save the World?
Save the World was the mode that you would pay for to actually play, and then there was a free multiplayer next to it that you could just hop onto. I remember doing that. That was the first time I played Fortnite.
Okay. Look up when Fortnite came out versus when Apex Legends came out.
All right. Fortnite release date 2017, 21st of July. Apex Legends release date 2019.
Okay, so Fortnite was first.
Fortnite was first, yeah.
Okay, now Fortnite. I was working at Comic-Con in I want to say it was 2012, and I went to a Fortnite panel where they first announced that they were working on Fortnite.
Oh.
And it was originally a kind of tower defense game.
Right.
So you build up your base during the day, and then at night the monsters come out and you have to defend your base. Yeah, that was the original. Yeah, but it was just Fortnite.
Yeah.
There was nothing else. It was just Fortnite. And they had this cute little monster that I had on a t-shirt, and I loved him, and I gave the t-shirt away, and I'm so upset about it to this day. But yeah, so I was at the panel where they talked about it and so the original idea for the game was that they were actually going to link it to a mobile account on your mobile device, and you could go out into the actual world, and you would get like GPS pings if you were near a resource that you could pick up.
Oh my god.
And then you'd pick up the resource, and you could use that resource in the game to build up your fort.
That's a pretty cool
idea. And that's why it was called Fortnite, with the fort during the day, and then at night you defend your fort. That was the whole, and I thought it was great, and I was so excited for it to come out, and then it finally did, and then they picked up on which honestly Apex can't take credit for either. It was PUBG that did it first, the Battle Royale.
Oh, yeah. PUBG did it first, then Fortnite did it, then Apex did it, actually. So.
Then Apex did it later, yeah. So it was a weird, like, kind of domino of this whole, like, free-to-play Battle Royale thing, and then you had these microtransactions tacked on top of it that... And the battle passes and the battle cards is Apex is I think what really started that.
Fortnite I think invented Battle Pass actually.
Did they really?
I believe it was Fortnite that invented it, unless PUBG did it. I'm not sure. I never played PUBG.
Never had battle passes.
Okay, so
that was never a
pretty
PUBG
certain
thing.
that Fortnite was the one that invented the formula of battle passes. And then, I mean, there's a reason that battle passes got replaced by loot boxes got replaced with battle passes, and I'm glad they did, because I think battle passes are a lot better system than
I agree with you on that than loot boxes.
And I think that's actually a very good example of you mentioning people voting with the money, because you said that if nobody bought the horse armor, nobody would have continued to make DLCs, but they did. And it's the same situation, is that people didn't buy as many loot boxes as they are spending money on battle passes, because it gives you progression. In most games that it's implemented correctly, such as Fortnite and Apex, it gives you your money back by the end of it. So the next season of Battle Pass you can get for free. You don't even need to spend money. You just spend once and then you get the money back.
And I honestly like loot boxes. You know, if we look at free-to-play games that do loot boxes and do them well, everybody loves Genshin Impact. Nobody complains about the Genshin Impact model. Is it a little egregious? Yes. Can you play without it? Kind of. You kind of really have to drop money into it. But people like it. And people love the game. And they keep spending money on the game.
We think microtransactions can be done correctly. Because if they didn't exist, if this whole new model of payment didn't exist, we would not be having free-to-play games. There's a reason World of Warcraft has a subscription. Because there is a price to running the servers and keeping them alive and keep releasing content for the game. If a game like World of Warcraft would come out now, it would probably be completely free.
If you want continued content, you have to pay the people to make the content. Just period. The only reason Eric Baroni can continue to make content for Stardew Valley is because he's made so much goddamn money off of that game. Had it not been,
and it's the scale.
Had it not been so overwhelmingly successful, there's no way he could have afforded to keep working on it. But, you know, so I think that's something that people need to keep in mind, is just because one game does something does not mean you can expect it from other games. Every studio is laid out different. Every studio has different monetization methods. Every studio has different staff members. You know, Eric Baroni only has to pay a small team of people that help him run his business. And so he can continue to work on everything.
Multiplayer game in the sense that it needs to have a world that is consistent and stays
active.
Active.
He's on running servers and all this crazy stuff. But if you compare that to something like Apex Legends, which is completely free, and it's made by EA, right?
EA's publishing it. It's made by Respawn.
So for Respawn and EA, they have to pay the people to make the game. And so you kind of, at what point do we say, okay, the microtransactions are a little egregious, or it's worth it because we're going to continue to get new content? Same thing with Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is free to play, but MiHoYo is a probably $1 billion company at this point. They're huge. So, and they've got Honkai Star Rail and a billion other games. But you have people who play Genshin Impact who expect the same level of, art direction and, story and voice acting and all this stuff in every free-to-play game, or even regular paid games, or even indie games. And I remember when we first started SunnySide, we were getting comments on YouTube of like, hey, why, Genshin has all these different things. Why aren't you guys doing that too? And it's like, are you kidding me? We can't. We don't have the money for that. So I think it's important for gamers to know the companies that they're buying their games from. Like, I'm imploring you gamers, please understand that, you know, we, a small independent company, are not going to keep up with EA. We're not going to keep up with MiHoYo. We're not going to keep up with Ubisoft. You know, that's... So, yeah, our graphics aren't going to be as good, or maybe we're not going to have voice acting or things that people are used to, but it's going to be a better game in a different way, you know? But anyway, that's my little soapbox rant. So, back to microtransactions.
Microtransactions can be done correctly.
They can be done correctly. So let's talk about...
what's the difference then? What's the difference?
So
and a bad microtransaction?
Let's look at two games that came out very close to each other. Okay, so let's talk about Helldivers 2, which came out a couple months ago now, and Dragon's Dogma, which came out a few days ago. They are both... I wouldn't call Helldivers 2 a multiplayer game in the way that like Fortnite is. Because it's PvE.
Oh, yeah.
So you're on a team, then you're playing against the world. It's not PvP, so you can't have a play to win pay to win setup with a PvE. So even though technically Helldivers is multiplayer and technically Dragon's Dogma is single player, they're both PvE games, right? So, and they both have microtransactions. And one of them is getting overwhelmingly positive response, and one of them is getting overwhelmingly mixed or negative response. So the question is, why?
Well, before the questions, I think it's a good idea to just quickly get some facts about each game. So Helldivers sells this premium currency that you can get yourself in the game by playing the game.
Yep. Yes, you can.
You can also purchase it yourself, and then it'll give you the premium currency. However, here's the interesting one, and it's the fact that even if you get the premium currency allows you to purchase items from a weekly shop, every 2-day shop. But more importantly, it'll give you access to the premium selection of items. To actually purchase those items, you need to get medals, which the only way to acquire them is to actually play the game. Now, on the other hand,
premium pass only gives you access. It doesn't give you the item. No. You still have to play the game to get the item.
Yeah. And you can, as I said, collect the premium currency through playing the game, although it'll take longer.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, Dragon's Dogma, a purely single-player game, although with the kind of parallel idea of that is PvE, has these microtransactions that allow you to customize your character, gives you fast travel passes to go around the map quicker. From what I've read, you can acquire some of these, not all of it, some of these items in game, and most of them are not required to actually play the game, but they're quality of life stuff that are pretty much barred behind a wall of microtransactions.
Paying
and actually,
if
you go on Dragon's Dogma's Steam page and you click on the DLCs, it's a list. It's a big list.
All the things you can buy. Yeah,
I'm gonna actually open it while you...
It doesn't tell you which ones you can get in game and which ones you have to buy. And so far as I know, most of them you don't have to buy, and most of them are easy enough to get in game. So the question is then, if you can get them in game and they aren't difficult to get in game, why are they available for purchase with real money?
Yeah,
that's what I don't understand.
I'm looking at it right now. Dragon's Dogma, Wakestone, Restore the Dead to Life, for example. Point to spend.
Neither Rainy nor I have played Dragon's Dogma, but I have friends who are like on both sides of this argument. I have friends who are really upset, and I have friends who've been defending it. And as somebody who hasn't played it, I can't really decide for myself. If you are listening to this or watching this and you have played Dragon's Dogma, let us know in the comments. Like, what do you think of how they're doing microtransactions? Are there things that you absolutely have to buy that you can't get in game? And if there are things that you can get in game, why would you buy them? Can you like give us scenarios that you would have to buy them with real currency, with real money, real world money? But my question is it the microtransactions that people are upset about, or is it the overall quality of the game that people are upset about? Because like I was saying before, Helldivers is great, but it screws up a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
it can
I
be
get
very
dropped
buggy.
from games all the time, stuff floating, you see like
Animations
major
breaking.
graphical glitches, animations breaking. You know, it's still not balanced very well, if we're being honest. You know, and but it's fun. It's so much fun. And even when you're having a crazy hectic time, I think yesterday was the first time, because Kevin and I play together, was the first time we rage quit the game yesterday. Because we didn't realize this until after we were playing Helldivers, and we were just like, we were playing on whatever the one under suicide is.
Challenging?
It's not challenging, it's something harder, but like, so we were playing at a pretty hard difficulty, and as we were playing, Kevin kept saying like we were playing on a stream, Kevin kept saying, this feels like a Helldivers level, this feels like a level 10, like we were getting swamped. I mean, we ran through, because like, so in Helldivers, if you haven't played, if you die, you can just kind of respawn, but you can only do that so many times. You have like a respawn budget. Multiple times we ran through our respawn budget. Like, that's how bad it was. Like, we weren't finishing missions. I think we maybe extracted like 3 times in like 4 or 5 hours of playing. Like, it was bad. And we finally, like, we're done. This is not fun. It's too difficult. Well, we logged off, and I like just checked, you know, that you have like a section of the game that is like, it's messages from the developers, but they're coded so that it sounds like they're messages from like, they're themed out, so it sounds like they're from like Super Earth, you know, Control or whatever. And so I saw that there was a new message, and it said, Terminid surge. The Ministry of Science reports an unanticipated spike in terminid spore counts. Expect a severe increase in resisted on terminid planets.
Jesus.
Well, we didn't know that. I hadn't seen that yet. And so it was so difficult that we were like, now had I read that before, we would have just gone down to easy level, and we would have just played down there.
But it is cool because in a weird way, you guys role played it, right? Would you say?
Yeah, well, no.
Well, no, you rage quitted. You were mad. That's what I'm saying.
We totally rage quit. Yeah, we totally rage quit.
But then you read that and you're like, oh, it wasn't our fault.
Oh, then. Yeah, it wasn't. It felt like it was a glitch in the system because there had been so many other glitches with getting dropped from games. It felt like we were talking about it. Oh, patch went out, maybe like unbalanced the game by accident or something. So what I'm trying to say is it's not a perfect game. It's still a bit of a mess, but people are willing to play it anyway and have fun with it, and the discourse online about it is so entertaining, and people talking about the storyline and kind of role-playing everything, and it's a lot of fun. Now, if you look at Dragon's Dogma, it's not getting that same love. Microtransactions or no. Is it a performance issue thing? Is it the story's not as good? Is it like, why is one getting so much more attention than the other? And why is one getting so much more hatred than the other?
Yeah.
When they're both arguably AAA PvE, you know, well-made games with microtransactions.
Yeah, I think the thing that Dragon's Dogma does that is done better in Helldivers in terms of the microtransaction side of things is the fact that the Helldivers one doesn't really, it's not game mechanics. It's not like you can get weapons out of the premium pass stuff, but it doesn't mean you can't just play with the other weapons either. Like, is that the same in Dragon's Dogma? Yes, to a degree. You can kind of say it's similar, but the way it's presented in Helldivers is the way I feel about Dragon's Dogma is that it's like a slap to the face. Like, you've already purchased the game, and then now they are gating these things that you feel like should be basic game mechanics. While in Helldivers, they theme it well, they present it well, and they make sure to communicate to the player that, hey, this is not a requirement. And if you go,
it's just an extra fun thing on top.
It's just an extra fun thing at the top. And if you go above and beyond, you can get it without spending any money. I think that aspect is the one that really kind of made everyone so happy, is just the fact that in today's climate of microtransactions, you can get a premium currency by just playing the game. That was a surprise to me. I was like, whoa, really?
Yeah, I want to talk about...
In 2024?
I think I have a thesis here about the difference that I've
I
just
think we
kind
can
of
wrap it up on your thesis.
I've been building in my head. Okay, yeah, because we did run a little long. Helldivers is a quick, very in and out. You can spend anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, depending on how much time you want to put into the game. You don't have to play with others. You can jump in by yourself and join a group. It's a very quick, satisfying, game that you can play. Dragon's Dogma is an RPG. That's a game you play on Saturday for 3 to 4 hours at a time. You're not going to be hopping in on a break or on my lunch or when I'm cooking dinner. It's not. So they're two different games in general, and I think this speaks towards... I keep hitting my desk. Sorry for the noise, guys. It speaks towards what I think the market for video games is now. In that people like RPGs, and we always will, but I think we're getting to a point where they're never going to be as successful as a game that you can pick up quickly and play for a little while and then put down and go do something else. Specifically because of the types of people who are playing games. It's not kids anymore. It's not kids who have 4 hours on a weekday after school. It's 30-year-old adults
that we don't have.
It's 30-year-old adults who have, full-time jobs and families and responsibilities, and they want to play games as a hobby to cool down and, wind down at the end of the day or on the weekend. But we don't have the time to invest in something. Now, something like Baldur's Gate proves that theory wrong, but Baldur's Gate, you can hop on and play for 10 minutes. And it's still satisfying. But for some reason, the RPGs like Dragon's Dogma or like Spider-Man 2, which did arguably very, very well, it's not as easy to sit down and just kind of play for a few minutes. So I think that is part of it.
Which is why I haven't finished Reload yet.
Same thing with Persona. Same thing with Mass Effect. I've been wanting to replay Mass Effect. Well. I don't have the time to sit down and play all of it. It's too much. And I think that's I think that's kind of the root of the issue, is it's the actual game design itself, is how long does it take for the player to sit down and play this game and feel that level of kind of satisfaction and progression. I'll be honest, I haven't finised playing a Baldur's Gate either because I don't have time. And I'll sit down and I'll play for 20 minutes. I was actually just gonna say that. I think one of the reasons Baldur's Gate did as well as it did is because it came out right before Christmas break. And everybody had time off, and they were able to sit down and play the hell out of it before they went back to work, in the new year. I think had that game come out now, I wonder if it would have done as well.
That's a very good
question. If people would have had the time to play it in the same way. Whereas something like Helldivers 2 comes out now, had that come out during Christmas, God, it probably would have been better, honestly. Probably. So I think that's something that people need to think about too, is what kind of game is it that you're buying? And from the game developer perspective, is get your expectations need to form around what kind of game it is versus who you're making it for. And if you're a game like Helldivers, which is specifically made to be played quickly, and you compare that to a game like Dragon's Dogma, where they're charging you for the ability to play it more quickly. So you've handicapped the player base with your game design, and now you're charging them extra for them to be able to play it at a pace that is more suited to their lifestyle. And that's inherently icky.
Yeah.
People don't like that. If they had designed it the other way, where they made it so you had all these things that sped it up, and you pay extra for the experience to slow it down. I wonder if that would have done better. Because it doesn't feel like you're handicapping the player up front and then forcing them to pay you money to get rid of the handicaps, which I think is why people are so upset about Dragon's Dogma.
Well, if you like to listen to us go a bit more into detail about other sins that Dragon's Dogma has committed, such as implementing an anti-cheat on a single-player only game, you can support us.
Heard about that?
We're gonna get into that one. You can support us on Patreon and hang around for the extended version of this one. You can see that down below into the description, and if you would like to support us in other places too, we do have a Discord server you can join up. We have a beautiful community over there, currently all centered around our next upcoming game, or first upcoming game, SunnySide. Yeah, we're also on Twitter and all the other social media. Sydney did this in 2 episodes ago, so I like to do it now. Do leave a comment for us. Tell us what you think about the situation. Tell us if you are playing Helldivers and how you are enjoying it, hopefully. And if you have played Dragon's Dogma, please do give us your input about the game and what you think, why it's getting the flack that it's getting, and what your opinion is about the game.
2 more things I want to tack onto that.
Go ahead.
One is that so we put these episodes out every Thursday, but if you follow us and support us on Patreon, you'll actually get them earlier. You get them on Monday. If that's something that you like, give us a couple bucks and you can have access to them a little bit earlier. The other thing I wanted to say is I feel like over time, as we pick up an audience, people are going to come back to these and watch the beginning ones. And all I want to say is, first of all, thank you. But 2, still answer the questions. Don't feel like maybe you missed out on a discussion or something. If you're watching this 3 weeks or months or years from when we recorded it and dropped it, please still comment and give us your opinion, because
don't worry about necro posting. It's all fine.
Yeah, don't necro posting. But yeah, please share your opinions with them and stuff, because we definitely want to hear them. So.
Yeah, and with that, we will see you next week on another topic on How to Indie. So we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.